Have you ever heard the term resistance profile and been really confused about what the hell people are talking about? If you have, this is the video for you because I'm going to explain it really simply. And I'm going to do it with a simple cable demonstration. But first of all, really briefly, a resistance profile is basically a fancy term to say, hey, where is the motion? Where is the exercise you're doing heavier versus lighter? So just as one example, if you're doing a dumbbell raise, you all intuitively know the dumbbell feels heavier here and it feels lighter here. The dumbbell lateral raise done like this, therefore has a resistance profile that is heavy at the top, light at the bottom. But how do you know that from a physics perspective? Okay, here's a really simple rule of thumb to use. Always look for 90 degrees because 90 degrees is where it's going to be the most heavy. So here's an example. If I'm doing a cable lateral raise, when I say 90 degrees, I'm referring to the angle between the resistance of the cable and my arm, okay? So here's the 90-degree angle. As I raise, what happens to that angle? It moves away from 90 degrees. 90 degrees again is where it will always be heaviest. As I move away from 90 degrees and move toward, I don't know, what maybe is a 45-degree angle, because this angle has shrunk, it has now gotten lighter. So if I now do a triceps extension, look for 90 degrees. Up, here's the cable. Here in this case, we're looking at my forearm segment because my forearm segment is the one that I'm using in a triceps extension or the one that's moving. So here is that 90-degree angle. That means this is heaviest right in the middle of the range. Here it gets lighter because look at this angle. Here again, that 90. And then as I get to the bottom, here's that more acute angle. So this is lighter than this, as is this. This is also lighter than this. So it's basically always a matter of identifying where is the 90-degree angle, that's where it will be heaviest, and then all other angles, whether they're smaller angles or larger angles, that's where they will be lighter. So again, if I go back to this example, 90 degrees is here at the bottom, and it moves away from 90, more acute at the top. So about this variation, what I can say is, okay, this is heaviest in the bottom, lighter at the top. Now what happens if I move the cable down? If I move the cable down, look where it's starting. Well, it's not 90 degrees, right? Look at this angle. So I know that it can't be heaviest there. Here's where it's 90 degrees. So what was the difference between the hip height one and this one? Well, this one is basically heaviest toward a little bit of a shorter position, whereas the other one was heaviest when my arm was here. This one is heaviest now when my arm is here. And then if I kept going up, look at that angle, look how acute that is, look how not 90 that is. Now that's lighter than this position. So when it comes to understanding the resistance profile of a dumbbell and how to think about it, what you can apply is just the same exact logic. You just have to pretend that it's a cable, okay? And the cable's direction of a dumbbell is always down. So if the direction of this dumbbell is always down, well, look at the angle between the force and my forearm. It's a 0-degree angle, it's just parallel, right? When I go here, look at the angle between the cable, just picture a cable going directly down in my forearm. And now look at it, right? So now you can see, okay, here is 90 degrees, here is less than 90 degrees, here is 0 degrees. If I went all the way up here, look at that angle now, less than 90. So I know it's heaviest here. Now I will admit this concept can get a little bit tricky in other instances, but here I'm gonna make it really simple for you. Okay, so imagine I'm doing a press. How do I think about this? Well, again, same principle, just look for 90. So if I go here, can you all see how the moving bone, which is my upper arm, is 90 degrees from the resistance direction? And here, now all of a sudden, the moving bone is not 90, and here it's stacked. And many of you know this. You're like, oh. Now again, this can be a little bit more tricky in different exercises. I'm just gonna go over one more example so that you all can see. Ultimately, no matter where you go, you just have to look and find the 90. So here is roughly the force direction of the foot plate. If I go to this position, look now at the force direction, it is roughly 90 or close to 90 degrees from this bone, which means that that's where it's going to be heaviest. As I press out to here, now look at the resistance direction and how it relates to this bone. It's not quite stacking through the bone, but it's close to a 0-degree angle. Now, don't get me wrong, the concept of resistance profiles can go much deeper, and there are many other factors to this conversation such as the tempo that you're using, the specific machine that you're using, and how the machine's mechanics may affect the range of motion and the challenge of the range of motion, as well as muscle length and how muscles are stronger at different portions in the range. Because something can be really heavy in a particular position, but your muscles can also be adequately strong in that position so as to deal with that appropriately. So for instance, even though the cable is heaviest in this position, I don't fail in this position because my delt is really, really strong here. I will probably end up failing closer to the top, and then I'll eventually have to end up doing partials if I want to fatigue the bottom because my deltoid is really strong here and it gets really weak in this position. So again, many other factors here, but that is the overall principle. And whenever you hear someone using the term resistance profile, just remember it's a term to describe where an exercise is heavier or lighter, not necessarily where something is more or less challenging, because that's also kind of a separate conversation. And understanding resistance profiles is very helpful because you can have an understanding and an expectation of where an exercise may be more challenging. And this can help inform you insofar as your execution of a motion is concerned. It can also inform you about, say the length of the muscle that you're training in any particular scenario. An easy way to kind of guess as to where an exercise might be more challenging is just to do a controlled set to failure and see where in the motion you fail. If you get to the end of a set and you can do a bunch of partial reps in the more lengthened position, that probably means that that exercise was most challenging toward the shortest muscle length of that exercise. And conversely, if you get to the end of a set and you can't do any partials, you're just like, you just can't even get out of the bottom position, then that's an exercise that is likely most challenging more toward a lengthened position. Are you a personal trainer who wants to take the confusion out of coaching forever by learning physics, anatomy, and how to actually apply that in the gym? If you are, my online personal trainer course is the course for you. And if you enjoyed the video that you just watched, you should see the quality of content inside this course. It has hours and hours of content specifically on how to coach every single motion that you can possibly coach. With this course, you'll become the trainer that everyone else in the gym wants as their own. So click the link in the description if you're ready to become the best coach at your gym, and I'll see you inside the course where I'll be ready to answer any questions that you have.